Jeremy Corbyn and his brother Piers are facing police interrogation today, and it's because of a pro-Palestinian rally in central London organised by the Palestinian Solidarity Campaign. And Jeremy Corbyn, John McDonnell, Holocaust survivor Stephen Kapos, political activist Lindsay German are all expected to be questioned by the police. And the Metropolitan Police have placed restrictions on the march, citing concerns about the proximity of a synagogue to the BBC buildings where the marchers wanted to congregate, and disruptions on the Sabbath, the Jewish holy day. And the static rally that took place in Whitehall and the subsequent attempt to march towards the BBC is the reason for the altercations. Police accuse organisers of breaching agreed upon conditions, juxtaposed with protesters' claims of peaceful intentions to lay flowers for children killed in Gaza. 77 individuals were arrested, including high-profile figures like Chris Nineham and Piers Corbyn. Jeremy, Piers' brother, and John McDonnell, as independent MPs, both expelled from the Labour Party, are also due to testify, are due to be questioned by the police today. And their denial of the police allegations, highlighting their cooperation with officers to conduct a peaceful procession. Jeremy Corbyn's statement on Twitter, for example, calls for the release of body cam footage and disputes claims of forced breaches. The description of police tactics, including kettling, aggressive arrests, various charges, which sparked allegations of repression, and the reactions of the organisers of the march, including the PSC and the Stop the War Coalition, accusing police of misrepresenting events. And equally, statements from Jewish activists and the broader coalition condemning police actions as an assault on democratic freedoms. This is all about the interplay between liberty and repression. And the rally occurred at the announcement of the 6-week ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and the hostage exchange agreement, and the tensions between freedom of assembly, public safety concerns in the context of these continued protests. This is the area that is under investigation. And it seems to me that both sides have misinterpreted the opportunity here. The peace is not going to be propelled forward by these protests, so they're happening in many cities around Europe, particularly, and at the same time, the police response is driving up tension rather than driving down tension. The impact of media narratives, such as the accusations of BBC bias, which fuel the martyrs' grievances, this is absolutely. But the BBC, on a slow news day, thinks that there's an opportunity here with this sort of story. The police will be looking into alleged coordinated efforts to breach the restrictions that were imposed. But there is a question about why these restrictions are there, and the charges brought against individuals, including public order offences and allegations of incitement, are serious. But again, the attempt to control a protest makes the protest itself rather absurd. Protest is about shouting. That's what a protest is. If you go back to the etymology and to the idea, it also gives us the word Protestant, somebody who shouts on the corner about the Bible. And so the idea of a controlled protest is slightly absurd. The continuing debate about the balance between protest rights and maintaining public order, especially in sensitive contexts involving religious sites and the right to march, or the right to draw attention. I think the whole idea of marching is a 19th century approach to a political problem, and it's out of date, and it doesn't do any good, particularly with the efforts by successive governments to constrain and to restrict marches to the point where it's simply lip service to protest. There are many other ways to get the ideas across and to stimulate debate. In the end, a protest march is there to stimulate debate and to show and to demonstrate the numbers of support for a change in policy. These marches don't stimulate debate. They're simply clocking up some sort of some sort of record-breaking achievement. Even very large marches, like for example the Farmers' March against the fox hunting bills, did nothing. They had no effect. We need to ask whether or not the whole business of marching in the street needs to be consigned to history, particularly when there are wonderful things like this around, which could be energized to be a much more effective protest tool. So I think the most important lesson that we can take from this is not that Piers Corbyn and his brother Jeremy are going to be talking to the police today. It's that we need to reflect on the enduring role of protest in democratic societies. We need to question vigorously the role of the police. We need to think about police accountability and transparency, including the release of body cam footage, of course. But we also need to ask whether or not the restrictions put in place by the police, perfectly legal under the new laws of Priti Patel, Suella Braverman, the Home Office. But we need to ask if those laws are appropriate. And the broader implications for political figures like Jeremy Corbyn, like John McDonnell, whose activism continues to provoke controversy and to direct attention to this problem in our legal structure and our social behavior. I think this is a relic of the past, and we need to move forward. We need to have a more balanced approach to protest. We need to ensure that protesters' voices are heard rather than tolerated as a noise in the background. And we need to, and in this particular case, of course, we need to listen carefully to the differing accounts from the police and the protest organisers. We need to look at the symbolic weight of the rally, its peaceful intentions as claimed by the organisers, and what it ends up being. And we need to critically examine the role of the media and the law enforcement in framing public perception of this sort of event. I think the use of protest marches, both here and particularly over the summer, demonstrate very clearly that the protest march is a thing of the past and is not efficacious. It's simply a noise, and it's simply a jolly for the people on the march, the professional marchers, the professional protesters. There must be a better and there must be a more effective way of getting voices heard. The protest is a thing of the past.